Well, hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fellowship Church Online. We're so excited that you're with us today as we continue our series called You'll Be Glad You Did. It's a deeper look into the fruit of the Spirit that Paul talks about in the book of Galatians. We're just so excited that you're with us today. And listen, if you're here with us for the first time, we want to encourage you to take just a few moments during our service and go to our website, fellowshipchurchct.com, and fill out our online connection card. It's a way that we can find out more about you. We can keep in touch with you and let you know about all the great things that are going on here at our church. And we also have a special gift that we want to send you. So listen, we're so glad that you're with us. We hope you enjoy the service.
There's a grace when the heart is under fire, another way when the walls are closing in, and when I look at the space between where I used to be in this reckoning, I know I will never be alone. There is another in the fire, standing next to me. There was another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminded of how I've been set free, there is a cross that bears the burden where another died for me. There was another in the fire. All my debt left for dead beneath the waters. I'm no longer a slave to my sin anymore. And should I fall in the space between what remains of me in this reckoning, either way I won't bow to the things of this world. And I know I will never be alone. There is another in the fire, standing next to me. There is another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminded what power set me free, there is a grave that holds nobody, and now that power lives in me. There is another in the fire. Oh, there is another in the fire. Oh, I can see the light in the darkness as the darkness bows to Him. I can hear the roar of the heavens as the space between wears thin. I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us. There is no other name but the name that is Jesus. He who was and still is and will be through it all. what may in the space between all the things unseen in this reckoning. I know I will never be alone. Yes, I know I will never be alone. There'll be another in the fire, standing next to me. There'll be another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding how good you've been to me, I'll count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. There is another in the fire. Oh, there is another in the fire. Oh, there is another in the fire. Oh, there is another in the fire. There is another in the fire.
Well, hey there, church. I want to invite you to prepare yourselves for communion. We're going to be receiving that together as a church family after today's message. So go ahead and hit the pantry, grab some crackers or a small piece of bread, or maybe even some water or tea or something to be able to use as the cup. Well, last week we started a brand new series called You'll Be Glad You Did. And we talked about how love and kindness are really linked together. And these are all results of a Spirit-led life. Today, though, I want to talk to you about how joy and goodness link together as well. So in Proverbs 11:17, the Message version says this: when you're kind to others, you help yourself. And when you're cruel to others, you hurt yourself. Now, isn't that true? I mean, we've all watched The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, right? Remember when he was all about himself and he didn't really care about anybody else, how his heart, and I thought the illustrators did such a great job, his heart had shrunk. It had been so small when he was cruel, but his heart expanded really big when he loved other people, when he was good to them, right? Paul wrote this thousands of years ago in Ephesians 2:10. He says this: for we are God's masterpiece, each one of us. He's created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things that he planned for us long ago. See, we were literally created by a good God to do good to other people. And here's a concept of goodness that I've learned, and maybe you've seen this, and that's the fact that goodness boomerangs, right? When you're good to somebody and when you're good to others, goodness tends to come back to you. The writer of Proverbs thousands of years ago said this. He said, the generous will prosper, and those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. See that boomerang effect that has? And it's just how God set up the universe. It's just his ways in how he created things. You can be selfish and hard-hearted, all about you, or you can do good and you can experience life, kind of as Jesus said, you can experience life to the fullest. And that's the way that God intended for you to be able to live life. Now, of course, whenever we're doing good, we need to have a sense of discernment as well. Sometimes always doing something for somebody can actually lead to enabling them or to slow the growing process if they're dealing with difficult situations. So there needs to be a certain amount of discernment. But let's be honest. It's really not great to be cynical, right? I mean, we can go and make excuses as to not doing good to somebody else for 1,000 different reasons. And I think that really gets us all in a lot of trouble and creates the kind of world that we're in right now. So I like to think the best of other people. I don't know about you. And sure, you may get taken advantage at times doing that, but it is by far still the best way to live your lives. And then I want to talk to those of you who really just naturally have those big, compassionate hearts. And there's a lot of you here at Fellowship who are like this. I want to say to you, you're amazing. But here's the other thing. Sometimes you go through life beating yourself up because you can never really do enough, right? And the problems that you're looking at in the world and in the community, they kind of outweigh and outmatch your time and your ability, and you can really get wound up about this. And so as your pastor, I just want to say to you, relax a little bit, because here's the good news. God uses other people as well, and he does other things through others that are just beyond you as well. And so don't get stressed out about it. Just do what God has you to do. As a matter of fact, this reminds me of what Pastor Andy Stanley has said in the past. And he said this a couple years ago, and it really resonated with me and helped direct me in my life when it came to doing good for others. He said this: do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. I mean, that's a great way to live your life. Because if you're like me, first of all, you can miss a lot of opportunities that come by. You can be moving too fast or too focused on your agenda. But if you start your day right, you can really say, look, God, put one person in front of me today. Recently had a conversation with one of our neighbors in our neighborhood, and she had said that, one of the things about her is that her husband travels a lot during the week. He's always out doing, with work and such. And she had said to us just recently, she says, I just want you to know that having you as a neighbor and the other neighbor on the other side as a neighbor, knowing that you guys are there has made me feel safe even when my husband's not here. And I don't know about you, but for me, that just personally made me feel great, because that's what we really wanted in our neighborhood. That's what we were striving, Laura and I were striving for. We wanted a community type of concept. We wanted people looking out for each other, caring for one another. And that takes paying attention. It takes helping your neighbor when they need a little bit of help, or getting a snowblower out and cleaning off part of their driveway for them, or helping them cut some limbs off trees, or bringing cookies by, or whatever. All those little acts of goodness lead to being able to really change a life and make a difference in somebody's life. So that really made my day, and that's the power of goodness. That's the power of being good to others. So the psalmist writes thousands of years ago, he says this, he echoes all this: give justice to the poor and the orphan, uphold the rights of the oppressed and the destitute, rescue the poor and helpless, deliver them from the grasp of all evil people. And then James, the pastor of the first church of Jerusalem, said this: pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress, and refusing to let the world corrupt you. Refusing to let the world allow you to be cynical too, right? Is kind of what he's getting at there. But that's what truly following God is. It's doing good for others. John writes about this in 1 John 4. He says, we love each other because he, speaking of Jesus, loved us first. So if someone says, I love God, but hates a fellow believer, that person's a liar. For if we don't love people we can see, how can we love God who we can't see? And he has given us this command: those who love God must also love their fellow believers. And that's an important way to live our lives. See, there's healing. Here's the other benefit. There's healing for yourself when you're not just focused only on yourself. It's how it works. It's the boomerang effect. And sure, doing good for others will complicate your life sometimes. It'll add some stress once in a while. It'll make things a little messy when you say, you might even say, I wish I wouldn't have even done that. But it's all good, right? Paul writes about this in Galatians. He says, let's not get tired of doing what's good, even if it's complex or stresses us out, because at just the right time, we're going to reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. So what I want to talk about today, though, is how that goodness and joy are really inseparably linked. And as long as you're all about you, here's the problem: you will never be happy. And we love to be happy, don't we? Who doesn't want to be happy? We chase happiness, don't we? Yet happiness, did you know, is really found in serving and in doing good to others. It's not really watching out for yourself all the time. So in giving ourselves away is where we find true happiness, rather than trying to hold too tightly. It's kind of like when you're at the gym and you're spotting someone who's lifting. They're trying to lift a heavy weight. They need your help. You need to do good and help them. And when you're helping them lift that weight, you're not only helping them, but you're helping yourself because you're engaging your core, you're engaging your legs, you're engaging your arms, and you're literally, in helping them, you're also getting a benefit and an effect, even in the spotting process. Now, this is interesting. There was a study that was done in the UK that said, through all kinds of money spent and all kinds of research that was done, that there is a connection between happiness and health and satisfaction. And so you can have good health and satisfaction, and it's linked in how happy that you are. And here's the thing. One of the key results of this study was this. Teenagers who regularly served and volunteered and lived beyond themselves were far less to be caught up in drug abuse. They were had far less unplanned pregnancies. They also had higher self-esteem, and they were healthier mentally and physically. And these teenagers who volunteered carried that and all the benefits of it into their adulthood, leading to a better quality of life throughout. So here's all this research talking about the same fact that what God teaches in His Word. So a few years ago, a few of us took a trip to the country of Laos, and it was such an incredible mission experience for us. We had a great time together serving other people. And those who went would tell you that trip really did change their life. It gave them a whole different perspective toward life as they serve people day in and day out. And today, I just want to tell you that the people that went on that trip, they're some of the most giving and joyful people that I know as well, because they really invested in serving others. Do for one what you wish that you could do for all. You know, my dad is retired, and one of the things that he does is that he carries in the garbage cans for a neighbor. He brings them to the road and he brings them back to the house. His neighbor has MS, and he just did this on his own. He just saw a need, and he says, I'm going to do good, and I'm going to meet it. And so he helped that person, and in doing so, it helps him during the day as well. He feels a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning in that. So I want to ask you this question. What is it that you can do, even this week, to do good for somebody else? Maybe for you, it's to repair a neighbor's leaky faucet or fix something in their home. Maybe help them with their lawn a little bit. Everybody's getting those up and running and ready to go now. Maybe it's walking their pets. Just do them a favor and walk their pets if they're in need, or babysit for free once in a while. Or maybe you could just introduce yourself to your neighbor, maybe with a plate of cookies, and say, hey, this is for you. And one of my favorite ways of doing good, because I've been on the front end of this and I've also been on the receiving end, is pay it forward at Dunkin' Donuts. Buy somebody a cup of coffee. If you've got a middle-aged guy like me, that would make their day to have a free cup of coffee. But all the research concludes the same thing that Jesus taught, that selflessness leads to happiness. And that's counterintuitive a little bit, right? Because you're like, how does this make sense? How can emptying myself make me feel so full? It's so counterintuitive, but it's truth. It works. It's the way that God has set up the universe. It's the way that He has wired each one of us. We were created to do good works. So, who's right in front of you right now? Who's right in front of you this week? What if you noticed them? What if you said, you know what? When it's in my power to do good, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take care of people around me. I'm going to do something good for people around me. And if you do, I'm going to tell you this, you'll experience the deep joy that results from this. So, do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. Now, here's the thing about doing good. So many times we look for the perfect conditions to do good, right? And we'll make all these excuses so as not to do something. Oh, it's raining out. Oh, I'm just too busy. If it was another day, I would have done it. Oh, they're going to look at it as an intrusion on their privacy if I try to do something. But here's the thing. If you wait for perfect conditions, you'll never get anything done. And doing good in the midst of imperfection is really the point, right? Think about this. Jesus did good on the worst day of his life. I mean, it was a horrible day. He was betrayed by his friends. He was let down by his closest friends. He was in physical and spiritual agony that day. He was belittled, mocked, and made fun of. I mean, all of this was happening to him on the day of his crucifixion, yet he willingly did good. He willingly went to the cross for us. I mean, we even call it Good Friday. It wasn't good for him, but it was really good for us. So as we prepare to receive communion together, I want you to think about that on Jesus' worst day, he did good, and what that means for us and how we can do good to others and experience true joy. So in a moment, we're about to receive the elements here for communion. And I want to remind you that the bread represents Jesus' body and the pain and the torture that he went through, all because of our sin, all because of our stubbornness, and all because of our selfishness. But yet, with all of that, Jesus never withheld good to us. And the cup represents his blood that was shed, covering that high cost of our sins. So as the song plays that comes on next, I want you to take that time to receive those elements, to receive communion. And I want you to do this. Receive it with gratefulness and joy, not in shame and guilt. And may Jesus' goodness toward you be a catalyst to move you forward to doing good to others. And may you experience the joy that only comes from God. And may together, as we individually do this and together as a church, may we do for one what we wish we could do for everyone. God bless you.
If the altar's where you meet us, take me there, take me there. If what you need is just an offering, it's right here, my life is here, and I'll be a living sacrifice for you. You're a fire, the refiner. I wanna be consumed, I wanna be tried by fire. Purified, you take whatever you desire. Lord, here's my life, I wanna be tried by fire. Purified, you take whatever you desire. Lord, here's my life. If your glory wants to come in, let it fall. We want it all. Lord, your fire is consuming. Fill this place, set it ablaze, and I'll be a living sacrifice for you. You're a fire, the refiner. I wanna be consumed, I wanna be tried by fire. Purified, you'll take whatever you desire. Lord, here's my life, I wanna be tried by fire. Purified, you'll take whatever you desire. Lord, here's my life. Ooh. Lord, here's my life. I wanna be tried by fire, purified. You take whatever you desire. Lord, here's my life. Clean my hands, purify my heart. I wanna burn for you, only for you. Take my life as a sacrifice. I wanna burn for you, only for you. Clean my hands, purify my heart. I wanna burn for you, only for you. Take my life as a sacrifice. I wanna burn for you, only for you. You're a fire, the refiner. I wanna be consumed. You're a fire, the refiner. I wanna be consumed. I wanna be tried by fire, purified. You take whatever you desire. Lord, here's my life. I wanna be tried by fire, purified. You take whatever you desire. Lord, here's my life.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us online. We're so excited that you're with us today. And we just want to give a shout out to all of you who are faithfully giving to Fellowship Church. We're so grateful for your faithful giving, and we just want you to know that your giving impacts so much more than just what happens inside the four walls of these church. Your giving is impacting people's lives all around the world. And this morning, I just want to introduce you very briefly to a couple that's impacting lives in Kenya. Their names are Ali and Renee Kanerup. And they, in Kenya together, are starting new churches. They're setting up feeding centers, and they are training missionaries, people who live locally in Kenya, to impact the entire country. It's really something wonderful and exciting that they're doing. But we ask you if you would pray for them. In a recent letter to us, they told us that the COVID virus has been raging in their country. In fact, it's been getting worse, and their country has gone back into lockdown. So if you would pray for them, they really need our support and our prayers. Well, thank you again so much for being with us. We hope you have an awesome week this week, and we look forward to seeing you next week, either here online or in person at 10:30 at the church. Thanks again. Have a great week.